The false impression that people have been given is that it's cost you 75 million to get Victor Osimhen.
Why now you are at 26, you find yourself playing in the Turkish league?
My dear, it's rare to see a manager now that doesn't have a very beautiful haircut. It's difficult to see, because everybody's ready for the weekend.
Hello and welcome. My name is Omotoyosi Adebanjo, your co-host on Global Football Insight with Oliseh. And on today's episode, we'll be discussing transfers while we take a look at one of Nigeria's finest strikers in Victor Osimhen. Hello, Sunday. How's it going?
It's good.
You look good, by the way, and I have to say that I'm in the presence of a legend, so it feels kind of surreal.
No, it shouldn't be. You are the beautiful one. I'm just.
Oh, thank you. I'm blushing right now. Thank you. All right. Well, I think the first question I should ask you is how are transfers so important for both clubs and, of course, for players?
Well, the transfers is just like that's the backbone of every team. It's like when you're building a puzzle, that is where you start from. And if you don't have the right puzzles in the right places, you need puzzles to be able to fill it up. And that's where that's where you need. So for football clubs, that's the time where they try to save or to start the season.
Yeah.
It's a time where if you get it right, you might be kings. And if you get it wrong, the coach might have to leave before Christmas. It's like that.
Very true. All right, so let's focus now on our Nigerian striker, that's Victor Osimhen. The whole saga and drama has been going on for like 2 seasons now, and it looks like it has come to an end. He has signed for Galatasaray. But before then, the what if, how, why, and that's what we would like to know. And of course, the fans would like to know and get your expertise on this one. We'll start from finance now. Was Victor Osimhen too expensive for these clubs to sign? Maybe his wage demands or his valuation?
Let's get one thing very clear. For the fans, football is passion, is love. But for all the actors that are involved in football, it's business. Be it the coaches, the managers, players, and big clubs. So at the end of the day, they are professionals and it's a lot about money at stake. The false impression that people have been given is that it's cost you 75 million to get Victor Osimhen. If you look at the players like players being bought now for 100 million, for example, and you say to yourself, now Victor is much better. He should be able to pay the 75 million. Now, I hope you're holding on to your seat because the real price of acquiring Osimhen and maintaining Victor Osimhen is actually 187 million euros.
Wow.
Now, this is where the person sitting at home will say, where did Coach Oliseh get 187 million from?
Yeah, we'd like to know.
Now, well, you need 75 million to pay Napoli. 40 million now, 35 million in the next 12 months. Now, Napoli also has put in the clause there that they also get to get 10% of any sales. So that means if Victor Osimhen is sold away from Galatasaray, Napoli will still get paid. The second part is the wages of Victor Osimhen. It's at 15 million net. Since the player and the club did not deny this, we'll accept it as they put it out there. 15 million net, it equals 28 million euros that's going to cost the club to be able to pay him 50 million in 1 year. So in reality, if you multiply it by 4, you're coming to 112 million euros.
In total package.
112 million plus 75 million gets you 187 million. So this has been a major problem for clubs in trying to acquire Osimhen. As a club, when you want to buy a player, you discuss the player's wages, you discuss maintenance, you discuss the character. When you look at all this together as a package, the club will ask themselves, will this player be worth it for us? Is it not too much of a risk compared to the other players we have? And I think that has not played very well in Victor's favor.
Let's be honest, even Napoli themselves, they can be a tough club to negotiate with. And knowing fully well that they can be like that, is that a major factor into why the move was so complicated for Victor?
Well, there is one name I would like also to remember. That is Aurelio De Laurentiis.
Yeah.
That is the president of Napoli. This
Yeah.
man is a shrewd businessman. The first thing they did, and I think that was where Victor should have been maybe a little bit more attentive, was when they renewed his contract.
Mhm.
He should have put in a clause there that will have guaranteed him somehow. But the clause was not really there, and that's why he's into this. The president is really out to make sure that he milks out everything out of Osimhen. That has not really made life easy for Osimhen. Neither has
Yeah.
it made it easy for clubs trying to acquire Osimhen.
Okay. We now go to Victor Osimhen personally. We know that he has had his fair share of injury history, and which has not been so good, from wearing the mask to the knee injuries, hamstring left and right. Is that something that clubs have also had to consider, that we're not sure we can rely on somebody like this on the long run? Yeah.
Each time these clubs talk about African
Yeah.
players, always insinuating that the player is going to be gone at one point for AFCON.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not going to add on to it also when it comes to Osimhen. They're going to add on to it the fact that he's injury prone, is as if the
Yeah.
other players will get injured also. But those things played into it. And if you're going to be spending, like I said, 187 million euros in 4 years
Yeah.
on one player, you want to be sure that that player is going to be available for 85 or 90% of the time of your games. And sources reaching me is that the Premier League clubs who had eyes on him thought about that also.
Yeah. So from off-field point of view now, we know Victor Osimhen has this clout with him, is quite audacious, and is quite audacious. He knows how to carry himself in this kind of light. He's when there's Victor, when you see Victor Osimhen, you're seeing a player. He's tall, is gallant. Yeah, he has this aura to him, but at the same time, behavior and personality, they go a long way, not just your skill set alone. Do you think some of the off-field antics and some of the off-field dramas, have also come to play why some of these clubs didn't make a move?
I will share one club's philosophy of recruiting a player, and that will make you understand more why a lot of these clubs did not buy Victor Osimhen.
All right.
When I was going to play at Ajax Amsterdam, which is a top-tier club in the world of football, they first sent a scout to watch me play in a league game at home. They sent a scout to watch me play away against a tough opponent to see how I will handle it. The third time, they sent two scouts to watch me play so that they will have two opinions on that game. And then the fourth time, they sent the chief scout to watch me play. And they also made inquiries on the club to see if I was a leader, because they needed a leader for them. And finally, on the fifth visit to watch me play, they sent in the man who's going to pay the checks, the financial man, to look if I was worth what they were going to negotiate with me. Now, that already tells you how these clubs function. What I know what played really, really hugely against Victor in the last recently was the rant against Finidi George.
Yeah.
Because it's not because of the person, Finidi George, it's the fact that the rant came against somebody who's holding a very high position,
High
like
position.
national team.
Yeah.
And in fact, I was at Qatar not too long ago, and I traveled, and somebody even insinuated to that again. Because he's a player you love to have, but they're thinking, how do you manage such a player if you pay him all that money and that explodes in your team after I invested all that? So all that has really, really played against the man. And managers will be trying to get a player that they can afford to, combine with other characters in the team. Will he fit into the team? I think that's not playing well for Victor.
But some people would argue that what happens on in the national team is none of the club's business. Club business is different from national team. As long as I deliver for the club, the nation, whatever happens in my national team is none of the club's business.
Well, how good you are at the national team really explains how great you are as a player.
Okay.
Because at the club level, they can assemble superstars together and they all shine.
Yeah.
At the national team, you play with what you have. You don't transfer foreigners to come and play your national team. So, and if you misbehave amongst your kind, there is no excuse that we all usually have. That I think is an advantage we foreigners have. That okay, here I'm away, so I have to behave differently. But when I'm among my kind, I'm normal. So, but if you behave like that, and that has not played well for him, and He's also had incidents at his club.
Yeah.
And that is not only a national thing.
I guess public figures, they bear the consequence of being popular and famous. Well,
Yeah, in September 2023, you remember the coconut issue where there was something over Victor Osimhen about
like a meme. Yeah.
Exactly. What I did was I called the sports minister at the time because for me it was a racial abuse. The player needed backing. The player needed support.
Yeah, support.
And the sports minister did something that I really respect very much. He immediately got in touch and we had a three-way call with the foreign minister at the time. Now, what they did was put out a statement, not only supporting Victor Osimhen, but supporting also all Nigerian sportsmen in diaspora because another sportsman had also experienced something at that time. And if you remember in September 2023, there was a write-up that came up where the then sports minister put all this all out there. It was because we wanted to support Osimhen and the likes. We know it's not easy, but somehow he might need some support, but he also needs to watch himself.
Okay. When it comes to global appeal, is Victor Osimhen at the level of a player like, I'm talking about current players now who have big global presence, a player like Kylian Mbappé, in terms of marketability and all that? Is there a big gap, a huge gap, or is still growing into it?
When a club is trying to buy a player, this is modern football for you.
Yeah.
You are not bought now just because based on how good you are. You are bought now also because of how commercializable you can be, how they can use your image rights, how children can buy into your brand. That is very important. So if they're going to be spending, this is one of the reasons why the Premier League clubs did not buy Osimhen. If you're going to be buying a player, it's not only just him bringing results on the pitch, it's also the revenue he brings in off the pitch.
More like fan base too.
Exactly. And at the moment, Victor has a huge fan base back home in Nigeria and in Africa. But that is not where the dollars and the euros is coming in for the clubs. The money is coming for the clubs with your fan base you have in Europe, the fan base you have in Asia, the fan base you have in the United States. Imagine you have a fan base in India that is 1.6 billion people. So
it's huge.
It's huge. All those things play into a player's image. And at the moment, I think I saw an advertisement of Victor Osimhen that he did in Turkey. Except for that, I've not really seen much from him. And this is why players like Ronaldo, Messi, even though they are still performing now on the pitch, they're still scoring goals, but these players are still selling merchandise in hundreds of millions. So they will always have value.
Now, from a tactical point of view, Victor Osimhen, tall, very good aerially, and is quite pacey too and strong. Now, we've seen Arsenal sign Victor Gyökeres, Manchester United got Matheus Cunha and Brian Mbeumo. Liverpool already got Ekitike. I'm still looking forward to Isak. If you look at the profile of these strikers, they are quite different from what Victor Osimhen would offer you. Do you think style of play from Victor Osimhen somehow doesn't suit what these top clubs want?
Let's group the top clubs or the big clubs in two categories. We have the big clubs, big, huge clubs, but then you have the top tier clubs.
Top clubs, okay?
Tier clubs. Now, the difference is this. The top tier clubs refers to teams that have won the Champions League, start the season hoping to win the Champions League.
Champions League again. Yeah.
They have won their leagues, their local leagues. They start the season with the objective, we must win the league. Those are the top teams. Now, those top teams in every country, you have maximum 4 or 5 of them. Some you have only 2, like in Spain, where you have just
Real Madrid and Barca
and Barcelona. Now, in the UK, these 4 top teams, when they are going to play 80% of the time against opponents who are going to be defensively parking the bus.
Yeah, low block.
Low block. Osimhen's game is energetic, like you rightfully said. He's pacey. He needs space to play. And he's a player that plays a lot as a lone striker. Now, where that plays against him with the top clubs is that when they play against teams that have the low block, like you rightfully cited, these clubs, they have very little space to play in. So you now need these players who are able to play in little spaces, combine and make preordained, premeditated styles of tactics to try to break them and score. That is why for coaches like Pep Guardiola, coaches like even
Enrique.
Luis Enrique, even Arteta also.
Yeah, Mikel
And
Arteta.
to a large extent, if you look at clubs like Barcelona or this, they will not.
Hansi Flick. Yeah.
They will. Victor Osimhen will not fall right into their playing style, and I think this is one of the things that has really, really played against him because the teams won't give you the chance to play the counter football when you're a top team. It's going to happen rarely in a game. No, that played against him.
All right. Here's a fun one. We see players like Havertz, João Felix, Benjamin Sesko, Nicholas Jackson, all of them, being valued at a high rate. They get to join big clubs. Their valuation is quite high too as well. Especially look at Jackson, who has dropped down the pecking order at Chelsea after they signed Delap and João Pedro. Still, but Victor Osimhen, if you look at his statistics, he offers more. His statistics are better. But why are they, favoring these guys over Victor Osimhen?
He's got a phenomenal statistic. If you look at what he did at Galatasaray, 37 goals in 41 games, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, at the Champions League, some might say it's not too good because he got 8 out of 18 games, but that again, that notwithstanding. But not everybody values highly the Turkish league. Not everyone values highly the Italian league anymore. In fact, Italy is not qualified for the last 2 World Cups, I think. But that doesn't take anything away from Osimhen because he's still one of the record goal scorers in the national team of Nigeria. That I think it's got 26 goals, I think, or something like that. He's done well. Now, these players you mentioned, these players are players that play with versatility. They are versatile. They can play different roles. Look at Havertz. Havertz, sometimes you see him at Arsenal coming in from the left side, coming inside. But that you can't have with Osimhen. Osimhen you can have only in the middle, trying to move
as a target man. Yeah.
As a point target man. And not every team is playing target man. If you look at Paris Saint-Germain, they let go Mbappé. Then I thought they were going to sign Osimhen. But they didn't. Instead, they took Dembele, who was playing on the right wing, put him in the middle, and played him like a false nine. And now he's a World Player of the Year candidate, rightfully, because of the way he's played. And so, but these qualities are things that differentiates Victor Osimhen from these kind of players that you named. Those players can do that. And that's what the modern football is all about. They need that now.
Are there simply other strikers that are quite exciting now, that clubs are excited about, whether it's their age or their price tag or even their style of play?
I thought Arsenal might risk and take Osimhen. But when I saw they sign Gyökeres, I understood where they were going from. Younger, cheaper, and there's always opportunity to sell him. It's kind of like crazy, my dear, that if we're talking about it, that you're 26 years old now and people are still looking for younger. Whereas in the past, we know that Maradona, Pelé, they were the best when they were 25 and all that. So if you look at it in that way, I think those players are the ones that the clubs are really looking at for more now, and not players like this. And to really get Victor Osimhen interesting for these clubs, I think it's going to be a club that is kind of like looking for a lone striker, stars that are willing to eat up their ego.
Work.
To do the work for him. And that is a problem with big teams. If you're going to play in a big team, you're a big player, but every other 11 player on the pitch is a big player. Every other 11 player of the pitch is a multimillionaire. Every other solid player on the pitch is a national team player, international. So your own control and command is limited.
So the big one now, Victor Osimhen already has joined Galatasaray. Fantastic deal for him. He has said that it has been something he wanted to do, which is come back after the loan. Also mentioned how his daughter loves the song that they usually sing about Victor Osimhen in Turkey there. And it looks like the reception from Turkey is massive, is going wild. Victor Osimhen is back and is back permanently. But at the age of 26, a man who has come through the youth ranks from under 17, like he has always been in our faces from from the grassroots, from under 17, Sporting Charleroi, Wolfsburg, Lille, Napoli, and from Napoli, he has always expressed his passion or desire to play in the Premier League, especially. He mentioned that Premier League. But what's going on? Why now turn back on that dream and you are at 26, you find yourself playing in the Turkish league?
Sadly, when it comes to Victor Osimhen's transfer to Galatasaray, it is sad to say, but I feel he's gone to Galatasaray because the top Premiership clubs did not want him. Now, if they wanted to, they would have made that investment because he's made it clear that he wanted to go there. Even Drogba solicited for him. I've heard so many times John Obi Mikel tried to talk him up into it, but these clubs did not go for him, so they did not want him. Now, that does not mean they won't want him in the future,
Maybe.
but a lot depends on him. That it's kind of like sad to say, but I am very much afraid that we are living the beginning of the end for this player as regards playing at the top at a high level. Because if these clubs did not buy you now, what will make them want to buy you in 2-3 years? Because last year he scored 37 goals of 41 games. This is extraordinary. And still, they did not buy you. When you had Manchester United, Arsenal, in desperation as regards a point striker. This makes one wonder.
Yeah, very true. So what kind of impact would this have, with his status now? Unlike before, he was playing in Europe top 5 leagues, gave him the opportunity to at least be in the conversation with the best of the best, But now you're playing in the Turkish league where it's difficult to even stream the Turkish league. You only see the Galatasaray, maybe they are playing in the Champions League and all that. Now, what kind of social impact and footballing impact it would have on his career? Of course, he will probably bang in so many goals there, but no doubt it will reduce the eye, of people wanting to watch someone like Victor Osimhen.
If Osimhen was not playing in the Turkish league last season, I wouldn't have watched one game.
Yeah, exactly.
Or maybe because of the special one, Mourinho, because
Fenerbahce.
he also gives you reason to want to know what's happening over there. People don't really watch that league. They get the results from it, but they don't really watch it. So that is something I feel would play against in his advantage. But also, there is one dark part. All the friends that I had that played in the Turkish league, they all had issues when they left there. Most of them had money problems. I coached successfully with a club in the Dutch league, and the owner was a Turkish owner. When it got to time to get paid, stories started. So it's something like that. And I wish for this young man that this doesn't happen. And I hope he has also made some guarantees in his contract to make sure that doesn't happen. The Turkish league is normally a league that people go to play in when they're about retiring, just to wind down.
But still wants to stay in Europe.
Exactly. But I think now for him, it's a bit too early.
Yeah, I think so too. So what are the probable solution for Victor Osimhen at this point?
The solution for Victor Osimhen depends on what he wants. At the end of the day, football is great, but you'll never play forever. You have to make sure that your bank account is solid. Does he really need to play in the Premier League? That is something he has to know. If he's looking at the legacy, being a top player, he has to go to the Premier League eventually because that's where the world is going to. Or he has to do something extraordinary in the Champions League. If he feels that, okay, I'm thinking about my future, from these wages, he shouldn't starve anymore. In fact, his grandchildren shouldn't. So now let's look at the solutions. Victor has to pray.
We're a praying nation anyway.
And he has to pray. I say one more time, he has to pray. Because Victor needs Nigeria to be in the next World Cup.
Okay,
he has to continue leading the team, but even more now, to make sure that Nigeria qualifies for the next World Cup. Because there will be nothing greater than, in spite of Nigeria being in a tight corner, qualifying with him excelling,
Yeah.
Nigeria going to the World Cup and him playing well,
Yes.
then clubs will forget these issues that are all around him. Short of that, he will have problems. Now, another things from the technical and tactical point of view, what he can do to improve himself is that he has to improve his technique in small areas. That is very, very important because, and he has to create some variety into his game. Because you see, the greatest legend Nigeria ever had as a point striker is Rashid Yekini. Anybody that is older now than 50, 60, ask them at 60, ask them to tell you about Yekini when he started. He was rash, he was not very technical, he was just running and hitting the ball. But with time, when Rashidi started exporting his trade, when he went to play in Cote d'Ivoire, he added technique to it. He became someone who could take one-on-one. He became someone who could play in small areas. He was playing in Portugal, and he was able to improve.
Yeah.
Osimhen can do the same. He just needs to want to do it.
So basically, refine your game, refine your brand as well, and refine the whole package.
Well, my dear, I don't think I could have said it better.
Yes. So now let's look at you now in today's transfer market. I don't know. Would you agree that it's over bloated, especially now that we see players who generally the quality they would offer you, it's not even worth the valuation at all. Is he over bloated, or well, it doesn't matter?
Well, there are players I see today being valued for 50, 60, 80 million. And I'm saying to myself, this player is not worth 30 million.
They should have been
There
maybe
are,
like 15.
yeah, there are loads of it like that, and
Mm.
that's what the football has become. And and these days, there's many games I watch now. I enjoy it because I'm doing technical analysis while I'm watching. It's my life. But when I put myself in the place of a man who's just watching a game to have a good time, I think I would be bored some games
Mm.
because of the passing back,
Yeah.
passing. Sometimes you want to fall asleep. And goalkeepers even touch more the balls now, sometimes more than the
Yeah.
striker. So,
Yeah.
but that is what the football has become. And it has become a football whereby the stars have not become the managers.
Yeah.
Whereas in the past, the stars were the players because they did
Mm.
something special. You had the JJ Okochas, who was, as ever, the dribbles, he does his stuff. You had Sunday Oliseh, who was the one who was passing the balls. You had Finidi, who was the one taking them on the wings. You had Bamangeda, you had Eshini, you had the Amokachu, who was doing, everybody had their own specifics.
Yeah.
And that is why Messi is exceptional today because he's still doing his stuff. He's different.
Mm.
He's not just passing. Ronaldo, the same thing too. So that has changed in football, and I think because of that, it's bloated.
And so it's a case where even the managers are, vying for the spotlight with the players.
My dear, it's rare to see a manager now that doesn't have a very beautiful haircut. It's difficult to see, because everybody's ready for the weekend. It's a showcase.
Yeah, putting on the designer suits and all
Designer
that.
and everything. But that in the past, that
Yeah.
wasn't, you know. And
Mm-hmm.
also that applies also to players because these
Yeah.
days the players were all, you don't see players anymore like Taribo West, that
Yeah.
had the hair everywhere and
Mm-hmm.
everything.
Mm-hmm.
So it's that is what it has become. It's
Yeah.
kind of like but then we have to live with it.
Would you agree that despite this overbloated transfer or valuation for transfers and players too, somehow, and the fact that football is not as enjoyable as you want it to be, but there's
Mhm.
more money now. And just like you've said, there was one time we're having a conversation where you said football, you said it earlier too as well. Football is not just about the entertainment alone, it's a business, it's a complete package. They need to make money. So is it a case where the quality has been sacrificed for more money, for
There-
quantity?
There's more money in football now. You need to have quantity also because now you have more people watching.
Yeah.
Thanks to social media, thanks to the internet, thanks to the
Yeah.
development in technology, football
Yeah.
goes worldwide. So
Yeah.
the market is huge now, it's global.
Mm-hmm.
So for that
Streaming
reason,
sites everywhere.
and and that's why when I go to Nigeria on holidays or to see my family or to spend some time, you are sure that on Saturday there's Champions League game, everywhere is empty. The sports
Yeah.
are full. And since our
Yeah.
people we love to banter, so it's on. It's on.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all like that. So it's the same worldwide. It's the same worldwide. And that is the reason why football has become like this. There is more money in it because more people watch. There is more
Yeah.
money in it because of the betting markets. You know,
Very true. Very true. So if you had to rate yourself in today's transfer market as a defensive midfielder who is tenacious and also creative and intelligent too, and quite technical, um, how much would you rate yourself? How much do you think you should command in today's transfer market?
wow, thanks for the company. If I was really right now, I would be blushing because
It looks like you're feeling yourself.
yeah, I would be blushing because I'm not, even intelligent.
Yeah.
No, no. But to be honest with you, I think I've always had a problem rating myself. I'm never satisfied with myself, so I don't know
Okay.
how much I will rate myself. But in all fairness, um, I don't think I would be poor if I was if I was playing now. I
Uh,
think.
okay, let me just say, I'll give you a standard. Real Madrid signed Aurelion Chouameni for 80 million. You should want more than Chouameni. Let's say 150 million.
Uh, okay. I think I am forced to agree with you somehow. So
Okay.
but I totally agree with what you're saying that the prices now, what we were then,
Yeah.
you multiply them almost by 20 now. What they sold us for.
Before we go, one more question. Something I've noticed with Nigerian players. Would you agree that the numbers for Nigerian players playing for top teams and top clubs are beginning to dwindle at a very fast rate? Aside from Victor Osimhen and Ademola Lookman, you know, aside them, maybe in the D, but he's not playing for a top club. So the standard is a top club. Are the numbers for Nigerians playing for top clubs dwindling?
At the moment, we don't have any player playing in any top club because let's face it, Galatasaray for me is not a top club.
Yeah.
It's not a top elite club.
Okay.
Neither is Atalanta,
Yeah.
and that's where it's housing our two best players. You know, in the past, when you talk of you spoke about top clubs, you watch week in week out. You saw Kanu Nwankwo playing in
Yeah.
Arsenal. You
Yeah.
saw JJ showing at Paris Saint Germain. You saw
Yeah.
Taribo West doing his thing at Inter Milan or AC Milan eventually. Finidi George at Ajax. You saw Babangida at Ajax. I was personally at Borussia Dortmund or at Ajax or Juventus. You choose, you make your choice. So
Yeah.
we have players that you saw week in, week out Champions League playing. Now we have no
Yeah.
more. Why is that happening? It's simple. Our national team is no longer performing.
Mm.
People buy based on your national team. If you do great at the World Cup, the top clubs will buy
Yeah.
you because that's
Yeah.
like the barometer to
Mm.
measure everybody.
All right. Thank you very much for being able to dissect this whole situation. And thank you guys for listening. Our next episode will be coming up very, very soon too as well. And don't forget to like and share our videos.